1993, I was a competitive bodybuilder, elite athlete, college athlete, and I came out of college and coached track and volleyball, and I built an incredible wall of muscle in my body that was very tight. Now I call it my armor, because I was protecting something that I didn't understand why I was so competitive and hard-driven. But my body was like a machine, and it accomplished what I needed it to do for me, and to a certain point. And in 1993, I began to feel so tight and so held that I began to explore other methodologies of movement, because I was directing a fitness program and was the head of a lot of people at a large club in Portland, and I wanted to help teach them something new, and mind body was just beginning. And so I went to a convention, fitness convention in San Diego, and I entered a room. And I walked in with my body all tight, but I was very proud of the body that I had accomplished, the muscularity and all of that, and the mindset that goes with it, you can imagine. So I walked into this convention, and I saw people like Michelle Larson and others in their 60s, walking with such ease and grace. And makes me cry now, but they walked up on the stage, and I was in my late 20s, and I couldn't do the things that they did. And I thought, wow, what's wrong with this? I have been training my body so hard, and I can't touch my toes, and I can't reach as far as I'd like. And I watched them do the roll-up, and I tried it, and I couldn't do it. And I began to cry, and I'm going to cry now, because it was such a revelation that I had been doing things wrong, or not the best way. And I really, I have a degree in health and physical education, and I'd studied all the science behind the body, and I knew it in my head, but I hadn't made any connections truly with my own body. And so I sat on the mat, and I wept, and I was embarrassed, and I wanted to leave, but I stayed, and I tried, and it humbled me. And I walked out that day changed, and I went home, and I began to study and think, okay, I just need to learn this Pilates in my head. And I realized it's probably not what I needed to do. I need to understand it. And so I found a teacher, and that teacher began to have me move very small, deeply intricate movements, and it began to release the external tension. And when we got down to those layers underneath, it was a little scary, because there was things there that I didn't want to know. And that's my story, what I was hiding. And so I searched for some counselors, so I thought, okay, this might be a mind-body thing, right? I might need some help. And so I found a trauma counselor. I knew that I had had abuse as a child. And from 2 to 17, my mother married a very violent man, and so he became my father, and it was a horrible upbringing for my sister and my brother and I. But I had accomplished so much, and I thought that was in my past, and I'd never have to talk about it, and my body could just hide it. And the body never lies, right? And so it was revealed in Pilates, the truth, if you will. And so I began to do my trauma counseling, found a wonderful therapist that led me back to my body as well. So it wasn't just talk therapy, but he would always have me listen in, notice how you're sitting, Cristi, notice. And so I would take the counseling and my Pilates, and I would do them together. And I would go home, and I was at this big club, and I was, the classes were 50 to 70 people in a room, and I began to share with them a little bit, not about my trauma, but that I was learning Pilates. They didn't know what it was. This is way back, But I stopped doing the hard exercise and started to teach them as I was learning, and I began to realize I needed a break from being in front of people. And I had a cable fitness show, and I was in front of cameras. And so I needed to take that person that was out there in front of people home for a while. And I went home with a little reformer and my teacher and my counseling, and for 3 years I did nothing but Pilates and heal. And it just, I can't tell you what it did for me. I'm so thankful. Because I couldn't have done just the counseling, and I couldn't have done just the Pilates. I had to do them both. So, long story short, after those 3 years, I thought, I want to learn how to teach this well. And so I got certification from Physical Mind Institute, and I opened a small studio in a dance studio where it was just me and a reformer and a barrel and a chair. And I thought, wouldn't it be nice if other trauma survivors could do this as well and understand maybe a little more about how to move the pain, in these fundamental movements. And so I created a class called the Body Odyssey Experience, and the journey to reconciliation. So reconciling with the body. So I've done the last 13 years. I have a studio in Portland called Springwater Pilates, and I do a class for trauma survivors, and it's a 10-week workshop. And we start, as we did, checking in with the body, and there's some movement therapy pieces in there, but it's a very special place. And the studio isn't about the body, it's about the heart, and Pilates, how it can help heal. And they come, I don't advertise, counselors refer them to me, and the lessons I learned from my counseling and Pilates, I put together the curriculum. So we're still doing it, and now we're a nonprofit called OASIS, Oregon Abuse Advocates and Survivors in Service, and just won a national award. And so I'm very excited. It's just culminated in something I had no idea what it would be. But for me personally, I will never do anything else, and Pilates is health. So.